Hello and welcome to another video. Today we will be reviewing factoring. So as you remember back from our Algebra 2 class, most of you use the X method to solve. So that's what I'm going to be using. In order for you to be able to use the X method, you do have to figure out what your leading coefficient is, which in this case is going to be 1. Leading coefficient is always the coefficient for the X squared. We're going to look at B, which is the coefficient of X, which in this case happens to be -5. Don't forget your signs are part of your B if there's 1 to the left of it right here. And then your C, or your constant, which in this case, same thing, happens to be -14. After we have figured out what our A or B and our C are, I'm going to draw my X. As you remember, at the top we're going to put A times C. At the bottom we are going to put B, and then on the left and on the right we're going to put the factors of A times C. So this one is pretty easy because again our leading coefficient is 1. So it's going to be 1 times -14, which is going to be -14. Again, at the bottom we're going to put B, which in this case is -5. And then under or left and right side, we're going to put 8x. This one is pretty easy because again, A is 1. So it's going to be 1x on both. So that's what I'm going to be putting. After I do that, I have to find my factors for -14. So the factors of 14 are going to be 1 and 14, and 7 and 2. Again, that was 14, but remember that it's -14, so I have to figure out which one is negative. So we know it's not going to be the first one, because no matter where you put the negative, it's never going to work. I'm either going to get -13, and then if I look at the bottom, this one does have a difference of 5, and then I need to figure out which one has to be negative, which in this case has to be the -7. Now I double check what's -7 plus 2, and it is in fact -5. So again, the two factors that are listed here multiplied has to give you the A times C, but added has to give you the B. Now I'm going to write them, so -7 and +2. And then when I write them, I'm going to try to figure out if I can simplify anything. If I can simplify, I'm going to simplify first, and then after that I'm going to write my final answer. So 2 over 1 is just 2, -7 over 1 is just -7. So again, I'm going to start from the bottom towards the top as I write my first factor. So it's going to be 1x, or simply x, and then the sign, which is positive, and then 2. I'm done with this side. I'm going to go to my other side. Doesn't matter which side you start with because you're multiplying. Again, start with the bottom, which is 1x, and then your sign, which is minus, and then your 7. So now I know that my factors for x squared minus 5x minus 14 are x plus 2 times x plus 7. Let's look at another example, again with the leading coefficient of 1. So very quickly I'm going to write what my A is, my leading coefficient, again to have an imaginary 1, my B, which is -7, and then my constant, or C, which is -18. After I do that, I'm going to draw my X. Again, at the top I'm going to put A times C, the bottom I'm going to put B, and then the line for my factors, and then under that 1 in this case times C, because my leading coefficient is 1. Again, I'm going to find the factors of -18, and I want to find the numbers that add up to B, which is -7. So that's never going to change. Factors of 18, we are going to have a little bit more now. We can have 1 times 18, we can have 2 times 9, or we can have 3 times 6. But Remember, we want them to be multiplied to give us negative 18, and I want them to add to negative 7. Let's see which one of these would work. We know the first one doesn't work. We know the second one will work, but the 9 has to be negative. So 2, negative 9. Again, when I start writing my answer, I start from the bottom towards the top. So I have 1x, and then positive 2, so x plus 2. Same thing here, 1x minus 9. So those will be our factors, and we are done. It does get a little bit more complicated when you have an a that is not equal to 1, but we follow the same steps. So looking at this example, my a is equal to 5, my b is equal to negative 18, and my constant is equal to 9. So we are going to draw our x. A times c goes at the top, b goes at the bottom, and then we're going to divide all of that by your leading coefficient times x. So in this example, 9 times 5, which will give us 45. And then in the bottom, we're going to write a b, which is negative 18. Now I'm going to write my factors for 45, which are 1 and 45, 3 and 15, and then my last one, which is 5 and 9. It might take you a while sometimes to do this depending on how large the numbers are, but once you find all of them, again, we want them to be added to negative 18. So now we know that one of them is positive. We check the first one. There's no way that's going to happen. We check the second one, and the only way that it can happen is if they're both negative. So again, a negative times a negative will give us a positive for the top. So negative 3 times negative 15 will give us 45. But negative 3 plus negative 15 will give us negative 18. So now that I know that these two are my factors, I'm going to write both of them down. So negative 3 and negative 15. So negative 3 over 5 does not simplify, but the one on the right does. So 15 divided by 5, or negative 15 divided by 5x, will give me negative 3 divided by x. So we're kind of just simplifying the fraction, and then the x is always going to stay in the denominator. Now that I finished doing that, I can start writing my final answer again from the bottom towards the top. So in this case, it's going to be 5x minus 3. And then in this case, it's going to be 1x minus 3. And then that's going to be our final answer. Okay, so now let's look at another example. Now we have 2x squared plus 3x minus 9. I'm going to write the values for all three letters. A is going to be equal to 2, B is going to be equal to 3, and C is going to be equal to negative 9. Again, I'm going to draw the x. On top of the x, I'm going to have a times c. At the bottom of the x, I'm going to have b. And then here, I'm going to have my a times x. So 2x on both sides. At the top, again, a times c will give me negative 18. And then at the bottom, I'm going to put b, which is 3. Now I'm going to find my factors for 18, which are going to be 1 and 18, 2 and 9, and then 3 and 6. Again, I'm looking for the factors of negative 18 that added give you 3. So I know this one's not going to work. 9 and 2 is not going to work. So 3 and 6 are the ones that will work. Now I need to figure out which one is positive and which one is negative. Again, I want positive 3. So I want the larger number to be positive. So my 3 is going to be negative. So I'm going to write my two factors here, -3 on the left, 6 on the right. I'm going to try and see which one can be simplified. This one cannot be simplified, but 6 over 2 will give me a 3. Don't forget your x always stays at the bottom. Now I'm ready to write my final answer starting from the bottom towards the top on both of them. So on the left side, I'm going to have 2x minus 3. And on the right side, x plus 3. And that will be my final answer. But you can factor out a number, you can factor out a variable, or you can factor out both. So as you can see in this example, 2x squared minus 4x plus 8. If we look at only the coefficients, we notice that they're all factors of 2. When that happens, you can actually factor out a 2 to the front. And then imagine that you're kind of like dividing each piece by 2 by bringing it to the front. So then 2x squared divided by 2 will give me x squared. Negative 4x divided by 2 will give me negative 2x. And then positive 8 divided by 2 will give me a positive 4. Just so you know, you haven't changed your equation at all, because if you distribute, you get back to the original thing that you had. So make sure you know that. For the other one, notice that they all have a factor of x. So we are going to factor an x to the front. And it's kind of like doing the same thing that we did before, right? Divide by whatever you factored out. So 3x cubed divided by x will give me a 3x squared minus 4x squared divided by x will give me 4x. And then a negative x divided by x will give me a -1. Same thing, if you were to distribute the x to all three of them, you would be able to get your original equation, meaning you didn't do anything mathematically wrong. The last one, you can also find this using the x method, but doing the difference of two perfect squares is a little bit easier to do, and it can be applied to something crazy like this and make it into a simple problem that you can solve very easily. So this only works, again, if you have the difference, meaning this has to be a minus sign. If you have a plus, you cannot use the difference of two perfect squares. So the difference of two perfect squares tells us that if we have something like a squared minus b squared, we can rewrite it as the factors of a plus b times a minus b. So looking at the first example, x squared is a perfect square because that will be x times x. And then 4 is a perfect square because 2 times 2 is 4. And again, there is a minus in between. So when we start solving for it, the square root of x squared is x. And then again, I'm going to have a plus sign. And then I'm going to have the square root of b, which is 2. And then I'm going to repeat that, but with a minus. So on this one, it's going to be x plus 2 times x minus 2, which will be my answer. This one is a little bit harder to see, but if I rewrite it as 2x squared, 2x quantity squared, minus 3 squared, it's kind of easier to see. So now again, we're going to put our a and our b. So a is 2x. So I'm going to put 2 a's here, and then a minus and a plus. The order in which you put them doesn't matter. And then a 3 will go here. If you were to FOIL or do the box to multiply them, you do get the same answer back. So just keep that in mind. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you learned something today. And don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Have a good day.